Alright, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe and fighting more gremlins on this Roadrunner. So you can see valve covers are off. That is because the paint literally cooked off of them last time. So I had to strip them totally down, start back over with that paint. I've got them repainted, sitting over here like brand new money, and hopefully it doesn't happen this time. I used actual engine paint, so we'll see how they fare. Something else I've got to do, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it today while that valve cover's off. This exhaust manifold's got to come off, because in the very back where the last stud is, it's leaking, and you can hear it after it cranks up, warms up, and you shut the engine off. It just steams back there and blows out. So I got to fix that. I had a pretty bad vacuum leak on the carburetor. You could watch it on the vacuum gauge and just see the needle jump. We got it, took it off, resealed it, put it back on. I think we got that fixed before we pulled the valve covers. And this side's valve cover got so hot that it burned through the gasket. I don't know if I still got that gasket to show you or not, but here it is. Basically, see how crispy? That was getting so hot that it developed a leak. So I've got some new valve cover gaskets, I believe to be better than the cork. These are the Feld Pro, what is that, VS 50145R. Get that thrown on. I'm hoping that'll solve my oil leak issue. If it doesn't, then the rear main needs replaced on this also. It's the valve cover kind of started leaking so bad I couldn't tell if it was coming from the rear main or not. So I'm gonna get my valve covers done today, get that manifold done, which I've got to drain the coolant to do that manifold. So that'll be fun. While it's draining, I can go ahead and put the other side's valve cover on. Get some brake clean, clean the oil off that. I'm hoping for a test drive soon. I should be able to stick that in this video. I know y'all are tired of seeing the car just sit here and not actually go down the highway. I don't blame you. Also, with my rear end video, I got some good comments on it. I'm gonna let him know. More than likely the front end of this car needs to come up some. The way that tire's buried in there pretty deep. So I'll check to see, be sure both sides are level. This side could be low, causing that rear corner to be up. Johnny Mopar reminded me of that. But it's coming together, just slowly but surely. I can go ahead and take my oil pressure gauge off and put his sending unit back on in the back, get it hooked up. I got to do some stuff with the gauges. That'll probably be a different video or not shown. I got to replace that heater valve because it leaked before, and on and on. So we'll just keep pushing. I went ahead and put that valve cover on. I'm gonna go ahead now and just pull the plugs on the right hand side. That way I can, well, that way I basically I don't destroy them whenever I pull that manifold off in just a second. But I figured y'all might want to watch me do something today besides talk. I just very quickly took my Durablock with some 80 grit on it, laid it across, and sanded. So I can kind of see some of the high and low spots. I'm not going to keep sanding that all the way down till it's super shiny and all that, but I did got my straight edge out. This sucker is really pretty good. You can see a little tiny bit of daylight, right? If I hold it at an angle there. See that daylight? But if that's flat, that's basically gone. So a little bit more in the center. So it may be high here and here, but the center's a little bit low. The edge itself doesn't have a bigger rock to it or anything. So basically what I can do, yeah, see, it's really pretty nice, and it was not leaking. I'm gonna probably go ahead and throw it back on with some orange RTV, call it good. If it leaks, I'll look at it then, but this thing's really in pretty good shape. There's no big cracks anywhere. Stud screwed back in the back and sealed. That's just white Teflon tape. That's what I normally roll with. It works great on header bolts. It should work there. I double nutted that and screwed it in nice and tight. And that stud does have a shoulder on it so that it kind of compresses up against that hole. And I went ahead and added one to the front. You can see right there. Scraped all that old gasket off. I was going to try to save it. It looked so nice and stuck down, but I walked to the back room, and we have one of the you know, great things about always running headers is that you get these manifold gaskets left over in bulk, and this is probably one of the first manifolds I put on a big block. I don't know, I just, you know, I would rather have something better, but that's what we're going with. So I'm gonna get my new gasket. I'm gonna put a really light coat of orange or red RTV around that, whatever you want to call it, and stick it, then throw the manifold in. Alright, so it is the next day. I've got the valve covers on. That manifold's tightened up, sealed up. Spark plugs are in, wires are on, carb is hooked back up. I went ahead and got underneath and wiped everywhere that had a drip of anything. So it's totally dry underneath. I think I'm at the point of I can reach in, start the car, and let it go ahead and heat up, see if my valve covers are going to melt off again. I mean, you can see that amount of space there is pretty tight, but it is what it is. I talked to Johnny Mopar, and he mentioned that flapper valve in there, be sure it's not sticking closed, and that one moves pretty freely, so I'm gonna check it out. I might actually put a little mark on it just to see where it rotates, and that way I'll know for sure that it's opening all the way. But let's get it fired up and see what happens. Let's see if she works. cover paint was just starting to warm up and smoke, but the oil running out of that valve cover is pretty severe. I've put valve cover gaskets on before. This is not my first set. The other side is not leaking, but this one sure is. Let's look underneath. I'll show you. See that drip there, and then all those coming down the side of that, and the one that runs down the exhaust pipe ends about right there. But it's had before and went all the way back to there. So I have not fixed this side yet. I did put a mark. You can see it right there on that wheel. And when there we go. When I started the engine up, this didn't move. You can see it right there. There's my mark. I intentionally marked it down, facing me. It did not move, and after it was running, I just bumped it, and it spun all the way around like that. So I can't totally tell which way is open and which way is closed. The engine is heated up, so, but it appears to me that spring is pretty worn out. I've never dealt with this crap before, but I would say throw it away and put headers on it, but he doesn't want headers. So I might have to pull this pipe down just so I can see the butterfly, unless I can get online and check it out. But we got oil. There's oil running down there. So something else to fix or fix the first time? I don't know. Here is that valve cover, and I wanted to kind of zoom in so you can still see. This stuff here is actually the aviation gasket sealant. I just put some on the bottom because I didn't want this sucker to leak, but guess what? It leaked. If you look in this back corner right here, it was just barely contacting it, and then along the center, like here, it stuck to the actual block and pulled off. But here, I can't tell if that, it's just an oily mix of both of those. It doesn't stick very well to oil. So I'm gonna rip it off. I happen to have a good old wall hanging cork here. That's what it had on that side, and it has the little ears on it. I know some people like those more, so I'm gonna donate that to the cause and reseal that sucker. Hopefully it'll be good to go then. So this is kind of one of those epiphany moments for me here. I'm like, why is this valve cover gasket leaking? It's leaking and leaking. This is a 915 head that somebody has repaired. I was wiping these over and over and over. Get them clean. Gasket surface, right? Look right here. Get you zoomed in on that. So that's been welded and ground. I don't know if it's level or not. I can't really get a straight edge in there to tell, but it's definitely at an angle, kind of cocked back like that, instead of being nice and flat towards me. So that's going to cut down my gasket sealing surface significantly there. And you can see where it burned nice and hot on that manifold. And I just couldn't tell. I couldn't tell. Where's this thing leaking? Like, I knew it was running down the manifold, but you can see the really fine holes there. You know, that's where that was welded. So I'm gonna give it the old college try and bolt it back down, hope for the best. But it's going to involve some orange RTV and lots of prayer. So I'm glad I found that for him.